One of Singapore's founding fathers, Dr. Toh Chin Chye, was given a final farewell today at Mandai Crematorium. He died last Friday, aged 90. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong was one of 5 people who delivered eulogies at the funeral service. He said without Dr. Toh and his fellow members of the old guard, Singapore as a modern and prosperous metropolis would not exist.
It was fitting that a state flag was draped around Dr. Toh's coffin. After all, one of his first tasks as then Deputy Prime Minister was to chair a committee to design the flag.
Dr. Toh and his committee came up with a red and white flag with a crescent and 5 stars representing democracy, justice, peace, progress and equality. These were values that Dr. Toh himself embraced and fought for all his life.
Dr. Toh was the founding chairman of the ruling People's Action Party during Singapore's most tumultuous years. Mr. Lee said his bold moves and fierce determination led to many consequences for Singapore, culminating in the country's expulsion from Malaysia. After independence, Dr. Toh was a key figure who transformed Singapore from third world to first. Mr. Lee said Dr. Toh dedicated himself to nation building and made significant contributions in his various portfolios. As Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Toh reoriented the University of Singapore to become a national university free of its colonial past and ready to support the country's nation-building goals in education and development. And as Minister of Health, Dr. Toh strengthened Singapore's primary care sector by integrating the outpatient, maternal and child health and school health services and established the Home Nursing Foundation to provide better health care for the poor and needy. Even when he retired from cabinet, Mr. Lee remembered Dr. Toh as a backbencher who stuck fiercely to his beliefs.
As a backbencher, he held his views as firmly as ever and was often sharply critical of government policies. From time to time, Dr. Toh would clash with the ministers. The ministers could not always accept his point of view, but they always took his criticisms seriously.
Former MP for Jalan Besar Loh Meng See remembered his interactions with Dr. Toh as a young member of parliament. He recalled how Dr. Toh always felt the need to treat the less privileged with respect and dignity.
His vision of the Home Nursing Foundation decades ago was ahead of his time. When Singapore's population was still youthful, I see that active steps are now taken to strengthen this area of home nursing care to our people.
For many, Dr. Toh's life was a lesson for all.
Dr. Toh's passing reminds us of how we got here, how much we owe to him and his generation, and how heavy a responsibility we have to carry their vision and our vision forward and take Singapore higher and further into a brighter future.
President Tony Tan and his wife, Emeritus Senior Minister Goh Chok Tong and cabinet ministers were present at the funeral service to bid a final farewell to the man who left a deep imprint on Singapore.
Meanwhile, Dr. Toh's loved ones shared rare personal insights into how he touched their lives.
15-year-old Matthew Ng, Dr. Toh Chin Chye's eldest grandson, recalled how Dr. Toh, or Kong Kong, always reminded him and his siblings to study hard and to uphold certain values.
He also insisted that we should be sincere. Above all, it is important to be upright in our dealings with others. My Kong Kong has gone to join my ama and my mother. We miss all of them, but we'll always remember the love and care they have showered upon us and the values they have taught us. Goodbye, Kong Kong.
Dr. Toh was the Tua Kor, or big brother to 5 other siblings. The youngest, Dr. Toh Chin Chye, grew up always in awe of her brother, who was 30 years older. She shared one of their light-hearted moments.
I remember he admonished us for using a language he called rojak, using words not found in any dictionary. He is a role model to all of us and a reminder that whatever our humble beginnings, we can contribute positively to our society when there is a will and tenacity to overcome challenges that come our way.
Dr. Toh Chin Chye shared how his late brother supported the family after their father retired. He also described Dr. Toh to be a caring husband and doting father who had lived a full and rich life.
He cried incessantly when he came to know that his daughter was dying of breast cancer. Brother Chin Chye, I bid you farewell. Thank you for supporting us and for supporting my university education. This made a great difference to me and my family, just as you have made a difference to Singapore. Have a safe journey and rest in peace.
Dr. Toh's son-in-law, Johnny Ng, representing the family, laid a wreath in honor of Dr. Toh. The service ended with a short prayer, followed by a minute of silence. Then the sound of the last post as a final farewell to one of the founding fathers of Singapore.
And earlier, Dr. Toh made his final journey borne in a ceremonial gun carriage.
Shortly before 10 a.m., the band struck up its solemn tune as the late Dr. Toh Chin Chye left his Greenview Crescent home for the last time. His casket was draped with the state flag he helped design and was borne on the shoulders of 8 officers from the police and armed forces. On government buildings across Singapore, the flag flew at half-mast, a mark of respect for the man regarded as one of the country's founding fathers. Dr. Toh had requested for a private funeral, and in recognition of his contributions, the government accorded him the honour of a ceremonial gun carriage for his final journey to the Mandai crematorium. Led by Dr. Toh's son-in-law, family and friends observed the proceedings in silence. Those in the procession include former MPs Chan Chee Seng and Ho Gyok Chu, as well as many whose lives had been touched by Dr. Toh. There were other well-wishers too, who had come just for a final glimpse. As the clock struck 10, the cortege began its slow procession, making its way down the narrow streets of Dr. Toh's neighbourhood. It then travelled along Lornie Road and Upper Thomson Road before arriving at the Mandai crematorium.